again, Cyclone hockey fans. You've seen this twice. It's not Groundhog Day. A couple of technical difficulties. I'm your host of the show, Kevin Way, joined by Cyclone Hockey head coach and general manager, or general manager and head coach, Dr. Alan Murdoch. We'll give it another go. Any comments before we get rolling, Coach?
You bet. Good to be here. We've got lots of exciting stuff on this evening's show. Ryan Reid, Player of the Week. Mike Scebold, captain of the D3 team that's also going to Nationals this year. Two teams. We haven't done that for quite a few years now, and it's an exciting time for the fans and the players and everybody involved with Cyclone hockey.
Absolutely. We'll get right down to it. This past weekend, team played Waldorf. Things went pretty well. 9-2 victory on Friday. 10-2, one-upping things on Saturday. Brought up some great crowds. I guess with that, what are some of the things you felt the team did well this weekend?
Oh, there was just tons of positives from this weekend. I'll give Waldorf College a lot of credit. They're starting a program right from scratch. They bought a full set of gear for the team. They traveled on a team school bus, not a school bus, but a bus provided by the school. They've got two paid coaches that are paid pretty well to recruit and train, and one's from Bloomington, Minnesota, and one's from Duluth, Minnesota, so good pedigrees with those guys. Crowds were outstanding. We had record crowds. The largest crowds of the year were this past weekend. We got that senior night out of the way. That's always a little bit tougher deal for the old coach, getting rid of some of these old timers. I mean, sending them on in a positive manner, and just lots of good stuff.
Absolutely. We'll share some of that good stuff with you right now and roll some of the highlights. There's certainly plenty to pick from. Friday night's goals. There's one from J.P. Kasak. He's scored a few this year. Scoring 4 for the weekend. Here's senior captain Brian Rooney. He had 4 goals as well this weekend. Senior weekend went well for Brian Rooney. Good old John Fable using the speed. That was a pretty goal too. He flew wide, slipped it in along right by the post. That's the goaltender. Dave Krabak, he's putting up a lot of goals this year as well. J.P. Kasak from Buttermore. A reoccurring theme this season. And finally, James had his own turn to score. Scored that one low with authority. Old Larry Beal from old ESPN fans. Great to see Chris Kakulia scoring a goal. He's had a lot of helpers this year, but got to lit the lamp himself this time. Justin Wilkinson on the show just a couple weeks ago. Brian Rooney winding up, slap it over the pad. On Saturday. Fable from Toigo. Congrats to Dominic Toigo. Dominic Toigo putting up a good number of assists this weekend. Wilkinson driving wide, dishes the puck off, score again. Good pass from the corner, goal out front. That's one we've seen a few times this year. Here's Trevor Lloyd in front of that. Mark Hubert, good job gloving that puck down, puts it out front. Lloyd spins and puts it home. I don't know what I saw that goal by Kasak in person seemed like it went in slow motion for me. I guess I watched it on the highlights. Maybe it wasn't as he didn't take as much time as I thought he did. Maybe JP's just that good and he makes it. The game's not only go slow for him in his mind, it makes it go slow in mine too. There's Brian Rooney again. An assist from Player of the Week, Ryan Reid.
Great, we had scoring from all 4 lines this weekend.
Absolutely, very well balanced. Here's another feel-good goal on the power play. The black line out on the power play. Reid feeds Butel. Butel with a nice sweep across the crease. Puts it home. Certainly nice to see. Joe's been out of the lineup now and again with some nagging injuries, so great to see him back in the lineup and having some personal success.
You bet. We're coming along pretty well right now. Our lineup's really pretty healthy. Our goaltenders are back in true form, and our defense are playing real solid. And as I mentioned, all 4 forward lines got points this weekend.
Absolutely. Now a lot of players put up some good numbers this weekend. James Buttermore, 6 points. Brian Rooney had his 4 goals and assists. J.P. Kasak, 4 goals. But of course, we decided to go with Ryan Reid as Player of the Week this week. Normally I'd ask this in the second segment, but since we're a little pressed for time with so many guests, talk a little bit about what it was that earned Ryan Reid Player of the Week.
He's been working really hard all season, but in this last week in particular, been working real hard on the ice. He's got great grades, and that's what we look for in the freshman year. And you know, he's willing to step up at any time. If I tell him play left defense, he'd play it. Right defense, it's his normal position, and he plays it very well. He steps right in there, and when we were a little short-handed at forward with injuries, he stepped up and played well. As a matter of fact, well enough that he's right at working into a regular rotation.
Certainly. Before we go over our first break, I'd be remiss if I didn't get your reaction on senior weekend. Brian Rooney putting up that points. How nice was it to see Brian have such a good send-off, at least in front of the home crowd?
Oh, you bet. You know, he's been pretty popular all 4 years with the crowd. I think it's growing each year, and this weekend was no exception. I think he had a lot of family in town, a lot of fans in town pulling for him. So it was nice to see him finish off the 2 home games with some good points and some good fun.
Absolutely, and his father even scored on Squirrel, so it runs in the family apparently.
Must be in the genes.
All right, Cyclone fans, we need to take our first break of the evening. After the break, we'll be joined by Cyclone Hockey Player of the Week, Ryan Reid. Of course, later we'll be joined by Mike Scebold from the D3 team, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
So, you're looking for help with your mortgage. Worried about foreclosure? Messy stuff. We're a mortgage rescue company. We can help you keep your house. All we ask for in return is that you submit to our plans for galactic domination. We're not so different, you and I. Sign.
Yeah, this is not what we...
Have you met my henchman, Radu?
Nice to meet you.
Radu.
We're just we'll see you later.
If you're facing foreclosure, make sure you're talking to the right people. Speak with HUD-approved housing counselors free of charge at 888-995-HOPE.
So, I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. It's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back to the Murdoch Show. Kevin Way, your host here. Of course, joined still by Coach Murdoch, and now as you see on your screen, Cyclone Hockey Player of the Week, easy for me to say, Ryan Reid. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hi.
All right, Coach, I'll actually start with you, and you touched upon this a little bit. Ryan was recruited as a defenseman, played defense the first semester, moved to forward when the roster needed it, and he's done quite well, man. When I watch him out there, he's so effective with his physicality in the forecheck. It's almost like we have a second Derek Colas out there. So it's great to see. I guess what are some of the things about Ryan's game that have helped him, jump into this role and fulfill it so quickly?
Well, you're exactly right. He does play an excellent role out on the ice. This last season, we talked to his coach and people up in the hockey leagues in British Columbia, and he came highly recommended to us. Number one thing that we look at is academics. He had strong academics, and showing that with good grades here at Iowa State. Second area was he was a hard worker on the ice and filled in, and was considered a pretty competitive athlete with a lot of upside potential by his previous coaches. So our director of recruiting, Eric Tofty, was pretty high on him. I was pretty high on him. He and his family visited campus, and that kind of cinched the deal from our end. We wanted him here, and he's played the role very well this season.
Absolutely. Ryan, as I've asked Sean Crawford and David Ellison earlier this season, other defensemen that have stepped in the 4 roles at different times this year, I guess for you, what aspects of transitioning to forward have been the most difficult, and then also now the most enjoyable?
Probably the most difficult thing was just the amount of actual skating and stuff you have to do. It's really playing my sort of role. You have to be doing a lot of skating out there, and got to be well conditioned and a little more skating than defense. So that was tough to translation to. But the fun thing is I get to lay the body checks in the defense for once instead of having guys barreling down on me all the time. So that's been fun.
Sure. Coach, right, obviously my previous question touched on this a little bit, but talk about how the luxury that having another physical player like Ryan brings to the black line, and also of course this last weekend team with Joe Butel making a very physical line. So talk about the dynamic that creates.
Yeah, over the years I've referred to the black unit as the energy unit, and there's no doubt at all it's got a lot of energy right now with Ryan on that unit, Joe Butel and Falvey. Man, they're not afraid to step up and play anybody at any time. So it creates a lot of energy, and that carries over to the rest of the team. The red unit, the yellow unit, the gray unit, they get pumped up when they see black out there working very hard. And a real key, I talked to them about their role a week or two ago, and I said, their primary role, is not necessarily to put up a ton of points. Their role is just to be pests for the opposing team and maybe draw the occasional penalty where, Ryan steps up and hits someone pretty hard. They'll turn around and retaliate, and first thing you know, they're in the penalty box, and then our power play has to go to work.
Certainly. Yes, Ryan, I guess from your standpoint, you kind of touched on this already. One of the most enjoyable things for you is not being the one having to deal with four checkers crashing, and you get to be the crasher. Knowing defense as you do, is like you feel that gives you maybe an inside edge on reading what defensemen might do when going in on the forecheck?
Yeah, I try to think about what I would do as a defenseman when I'm going in on a guy and what maybe his options are, and see if I can take those away, and always make sure to finish the check so he doesn't get away, even if he does manage to make a play.
Absolutely. I guess you're one of the number of freshmen, over a dozen freshmen on the team this year, coming to us from the Castlegar Rebels of the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, a league that has treated us very well in recent years with Mike Liebler, for one, Chris Kakulia, amongst others. But obviously you came to us as a player who still had junior eligibility left, so you obviously made the active decision that you wanted to start college sooner rather than later. What was it that made you decide to pursue your education?
Well, last year we had a really good team, and we had an old team, and we made a good run in the end of the season. We just came up short in the championships or the playoffs, and the next year coming up, I felt like we were going to be rebuilding, and we were going to have a lot younger players, and I had my time there, so decided that academics was the best thing for me at that point. So I've been speaking with Eric Toffey on the phone over the course of the season, and when I came down for the visit, it was pretty easy choice to make to come to Iowa State.
Yeah, I guess talk a little bit more about some of the particulars about Iowa State that attracted you to Iowa State as an institution, also to Cyclone Hockey.
Well, I heard Iowa State's obviously Division I school. That's a big promotion for every school. And, the good academic record, and I knew Chris Kakulia coming in, so I spoke to guys and other guys on the team on my recruiting trip about what this place is all about, and it seemed like a real positive environment, so it seemed like a good fit for me.
Absolutely. Yes, Coach, as a 92 and maybe a 90 coming in, obviously a players, the development of their game might not be as far along as some other players, but Ryan's done very well. Obviously made the top team this year, but with that, what are some of the areas you've seen Ryan develop the most here in his freshman year now that we're almost done with it?
Yeah, I think, as he alluded to earlier, splitting his time between defense and forward, skating as a forward, skating frontwards all the time, that requires a transition. Passing in traffic, in the neutral zone and the offensive zone, that's a transition for a defense in becoming a forward. And, the final thing, shots from in tight, and I consider Ryan, one of the top rookies on our team, having one of the best shots amongst those rookies. So you put that combination together, and that's how he's garnered additional ice time.
Certainly. I guess probably one thing I should have asked you about Ryan earlier, I've also noticed, obviously hard on the forecheck, but he also drives the net hard. Talk about the opportunities that opens up not only for himself but for his line mates, having a player that come heck or high water, will find his way to the net.
You bet. It's a combination of things. I think a big thing, the goaltending is very, very good right now, especially in D1 of the ACHA. A lot of teams have just outstanding goaltending, so you have to put the pressure on them. You have to, if I were a goaltender and I saw Ryan coming in pretty fast towards the net, I'd be thinking about more things than just the puck. They're supposed to focus just on the puck, but when you have our big guys coming in, between him and Joe Buttel, then their centerman right now, Falvey, he's got all kinds of opportunities, and so they're going to be pests. They're going to be, like a thorn in the side of Oklahoma when it comes Saturday.
Absolutely. I guess, Ryan, with the obviously you have the ACHA men's Division I national tournament still to play, but you still have a lot of other games behind you. Your freshman year is almost done. So with that retrospect, what's have been your impressions of the caliber of play here and Cyclone hockey in general?
It's been really good. It's been a good transition. It's a little bit faster than what I'm used to, as that's expected with college level hockey. So that was a bit of a transition, but it's been really good, and there's a less dirty play, I feel like, out there. The guys are a lot more protected, and there's not as much rough stuff out there as far as fisticuffs and whatnot is concerned. So it's been different that way. So it's more of a skill game for sure.
Absolutely. All right, fans, we need to take one more commercial break. After the break, we're going to be joined by D3 team captain Mike Scebold and graduating senior. We'll also preview quickly the team's upcoming opening round matchup against Oklahoma and the ACHA Men's Division I National Tournament in general. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you on the flip side of these brief messages.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Danse, balance la cadence, on devient tes hanches au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence, dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou, ton
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Welcome back, Cyclone fans, to the Al Murdoch Show. Your host, Kevin Way here. Joined, of course, by Cyclone Hockey General Manager and Head Coach, Dr. Al Murdoch. And now, as you see, by Cyclone Hockey D3 team captain and graduating senior, Mike Cyclone. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kev. Glad to be here.
Hey, Coach, obviously a big part of the reason Mike's joining us is, he's a senior, and he's from Story City, an Ames area native, and a product of Ames minor hockey. But also, he's here because the D3 team, as you mentioned, qualified for the national tournament. So I guess how rewarding is it for you to once again have both teams going to nationals?
Yeah, I think it's great. The biggest thing we try to provide at Iowa State is an opportunity for people to go to school and get a good education, play the great sport of hockey. So by having two teams and having them both qualify for nationals, that gives it the full experience. I think from the time that I came many years ago, it seems as though we've always had a couple of teams. The first couple of years, the second team played in the Des Moines Commercial League. The next couple of years after that, they played in the Iowa Collegiate Hockey League. They played in various leagues off and on. Sometimes they've been referred to as the junior varsity team because we have movement between the two teams for practices and games. But I think the last 2 or 3 years, with the number of people that want to come to Iowa State and get a good education, we'll also have 2 to 3 years of junior experience. Having two teams that are able to provide that, we're attracting a lot of students here from all over the world. And it's kind of neat that we have Mike on the D3 squad. I know he's tried out with the D1 squad, and I think probably he could be on the D1 squad this year and last year, but sometimes the guys, depending on what their majors are and their academic loads and the opportunity to participate, actively and be a leader as Mike is, as captain of his team, is a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Mike, I guess I would feel that part of this year's success was the success you guys experienced last year, establishing yourselves, going into regionals. Talk a bit about that, about how you feel like, talk about your success last year and then how that kind of built into this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We past 2 years made it to regionals and unfortunately lost in the regional championship game both years, and that's just the way she goes. You got to learn from it, and we grew as a team. We only lost a few players over the past 2 years, and we really came together and took it as a learning experience and really developed from there.
Certainly. Of course, this season you guys have knocked off already some of D3's best. I won't talk about them real quick because I'm going to let you talk about them. I would talk about, those opportunities. You had an important one in the fall where you had some great showings, and obviously this recent week. So talk a bit about those.
Yeah, it's really important to win the games you're supposed to win, and also at the same time to win the ones that maybe you're not really supposed to win or you're the underdogs in. And we had a tournament over in Sioux Center, and we played Davenport, a national powerhouse for both D1 and D3 hockey, and we were able to skate with them the whole time and ended up pulling off a victory in a shootout. So it was a great weekend, great experience.
Definitely a couple, and then obviously regionals. This last week went pretty good as well. So, how excited are you? Obviously, seniors, you will get the experience of going to nationals.
Yeah, it was great. It was finally getting over that hump and winning those 2 games at regionals. A bunch of guys willing to do anything it takes for the boys, and finally getting there. It was such a great feeling watching those final seconds count down. Senior year, I'm glad I could experience it.
With the team this year transitioned into a different league, the MACHA. Talk about how, in your mind, how are things different playing in the MACHA than before? Have you found it's been a step up, or talk about that?
Yeah, certainly. I guess the major difference is we're traveling east now instead of west, but the competition definitely has stepped it up. We're in a better league now. We play a lot of Michigan and Illinois teams, and it's been a lot of fun. I think it'll be a definite growth opportunity for the team, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go in the future.
Absolutely. Coach, I think you already touched on this a little bit, but Mike came to us with experience with the Quad City Express, and which became the Junior Flames in the Central States League, now NA3HA. He also played for the Twin City Northern Lights in the Minnesota Junior Hockey League, and was an all-star in that league. So he came with a pretty good resume. Is Mike kind of the leading edge of the new face of the D3 team?
Yes, I think so. Coming in with good academics and good junior experience, I think, is what we're going to see from top to bottom on both squads. He was what we sometimes consider a bubble player. He could have easily been on the Division I team, playing a role in the 3rd, 4th unit. But sometimes players look at it and say, well, the opportunity to be on the 1st unit or be a team leader is huge, and they don't practice quite as much. They practice twice a week, whereas the D1 team practices 4 times a week. Frees up a little bit of time, and he's a pretty good student, and he's looking at a great career ahead with his degree from Iowa State, so I think he's made the right choices.
Certainly. I guess, Mike, looking back, what are some of your fondest memories of Cyclone hockey and some of the most rewarding aspects of playing for the D3 team? And then, as Coach touched on, talked about what's next for Mike Scebold.
Well, as Coach mentioned, it does free up more time. It gives you more time to focus on academics, which I think is really important, especially we've got a young group of guys this year, so getting their feet wet in college. Personally, looking back, those regional trips, my sophomore year, went to Vegas, didn't end the way we wanted it to, but it's still a good trip. And then last year in Colorado Springs, and I'm glad that senior year is culminating with the trip to nationals in New Jersey over spring break. It's going to be fun. Moving forward for Mike Cyclone, I'll be moving down to Des Moines with my fiance, and I'll be working for Principal Financial Group in their leadership development program.
Outstanding. Definitely, that's what we like to see. Certainly, as coach, as a member of the staff, seeing our players moving on to the professional ranks, whether it be as a player or as a working professional.
You bet. We want to see them move on to great jobs, and when they get that first job, they get their checkbook out and write the big checks back to Cyclone Hockey, and we'll expect Mike to be doing that too.
All right. Well, of course, before we part from tonight's episode, we need to discuss the upcoming ACHA Men's Division I National Tournament. The team plays its first game Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, against Oklahoma. Talk a bit about what it's going to take to beat the Sooners.
You know, our hands will be full, no question about it. We had a great series with them. We've been watching, reviewing the video from the 2 games from fall semester, and we won the Friday night and lost in overtime on Saturday night. So it's going to be a great game with Oklahoma. Playoff time, you know, is it's a new season, so everybody steps it up a notch and plays really well. We've got a good couple of days of practice left this week. We will head out. We will be in Cleveland on the first round day, where teams ranked 13 through 20 play. We're ranked number 8, so we get a bye on that first day, but we will practice. All teams practice on their off days, and then our first game is at 4 o'clock Cleveland time. That would be 3 o'clock Iowa time on Saturday afternoon. And, you know, if you lose, you're done. One and done. Get on the bus, go home. If you win, then you move on to the next round, and that would be the round of 8. Looks like right now number 1 seed is Penn State. They'd be playing as number 16. Unless there's a huge upset, they'll win their first round. And right now I'm planning on winning our first round against number 9 Oklahoma and playing Penn State on Sunday afternoon around the same time, 3, 4, 5 o'clock on Sunday. I don't know the exact time, but it's going to be great.
Absolutely. I guess before we go, any final comments during
you bet.
Pizza?
You bet. We've got lots of great sponsors out there, and I know both teams are doing a lot of fundraising to go to nationals. And without the help of Pizza Pit, our program would not be able to operate at the level that it does. And Pizza Pit's so great to us, I can even smell it coming in the door at the end of the show. Pizza Pit's number 1.
Actually, one of the perks of doing the show. All right, Cyclone fans, that does it for this edition of the Al Murdoch Show. I encourage you to stay tuned into the Cyclone Hockey Facebook page to track of when the next games, if and when the Cyclones advance from the first round. And those games will be on Fast Hockey, so you'll want to go to www.fasthockey.com to register to watch. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in March. Good night.
Look, your name's on
There it is.